Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about the Pauper metagame. Now this is kind of a winner's metagame, taken mostly from last chance qualifiers, from top 32s in challenges, and from 4-0 and 3-1s in prelims. That being said, I think it's a really good representation of the decks you're going to be playing if you win in these tournaments. So let's jump into it. The most popular deck in Pioneer is Red Sacrifice. In my Pioneer metagame 2 weeks ago, I believe I was talking about like the rise of Red Sac in the context of all the regional championships. So it makes sense that this is doing some numbers. In second place is Nykthos Ramp, and in third place is the Hidden Strings or Lotus Field deck. So let's talk about these three decks. The Lotus Field deck is a combo deck that essentially puts Lotus Field on the battlefield, which when it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield tapped, and you have to sacrifice 2 lands when it enters the battlefield. However, it taps for 3 mana. So it's a net 0 land, but when you play a bunch of cards that untap lands, and you play cards like Thespian Stage that copies Lotus Field, you can start netting positive on this mana with cards like Hidden Strings or Pour Over Pages, to eventually have giant amounts of mana and kill with normally Approach of the Second Sun. The Nykthos Ramp deck is a deck we've seen at the top a lot, especially recently. It died down for a little bit there, but has been doing really good in the context of all these regional championships. Mono Green Ramp is a rampy creature deck where it plays big dumb creatures, however has an infinite combo alongside Karn and Kiora, the planeswalkers it runs, that kills their opponent, so it attacks from both angles. So players have to answer the permanent so that the Nykthos player doesn't have enough devotion, so they can't do the combo, but they're also answering the permanent so they don't just die to the permanents. And it can become a very hard deck to play against. Recto Sacrifice is a Aristocrats deck. It's a deck where you sacrifice your creatures with things like Deadly Dispute or Witch's Oven in order to deal a bunch of damage with Mayhem Devil, or just to profit by sacrificing cards that come back, like Cauldron Familiar, or comboing with Witch's Oven and Cauldron Familiar. It is an extremely powerful deck, and its rise to the top is heralded by it being the most winning deck out of the RCs over the course of the previous month. And if you ask me where this deck was before all of these RCs, I would say like mid-tier 2-ish. And now it is decidedly tier 1 and maybe the best deck in Pioneer. So let's look at the top 8 results. There are a lot of events this past weekend, and let's see if the metagame is reflective of the top 8 results. At the very top, no surprise, Recto Sacrifice by a giant margin because it is solidifying itself as one of the better decks in Pioneer. The second is Red Pia, and then in third is Esper Control, Nykthos Ramp, and Hidden Strings all kind of tied together. So we've already talked about a lot of these decks. I did want to highlight the Red Pia deck. Unfortunately, I get my data mostly through MTG Goldfish, and Red Pia isn't considered a deck yet on MTG Goldfish. I will say it would not have broken into the top 3 as far as decks go, but it was unfortunately in the other category on the overall metagame, just like a quick disclaimer there. But Red Pia is this really cool deck that uses the shell of a mono red deck. However, it takes Pia, which says you get a Thopter every time you cast something from exile alongside all these exile cards like Reckless Impulse and effects like that, so that when you cast things from exile, you get Thopters, so you're dealing a bunch of damage, but also you're like essentially drawing cards because it's in the shell of a mono red deck as you're casting things from exile. And so it's basically a mono red deck that never runs out of fuel, and it is so good. But that is the Pioneer metagame. If you like these videos, please be sure to like and subscribe so you can catch them every week. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.